So we are just 329 days away from the 2020 election. What investors need to be watching on the campaign trail. Joining us right now, Operation Hope Chairman and CEO John Hope Bryant is here. Also, Xander Lurie is here. We've been talking all morning or during the commercial breaks about the prospects for Mayor Bloomberg. And I'm actually curious what your surveys say and what you're thinking about this.
You know, I said it before, I'll say it again. Whenever I want to get a crowd in the inner city, I have 4 million clients, or rural America, I say a billionaire is coming. So all of this stuff about we hate billionaires is just wrong. This whole concept of we hate rich people, no, we hate rich people until we become rich. What we hate is the game system. And if we can figure out how these people made it, I think if he can show us how to make it, a bottom-up strategy versus what we have now is a top-down strategy, he's going to get the hearts and minds, the piece he's missing, of the American public. The fact that he's not accepting campaign contributions is, I don't think, a negative. I actually think it might be a positive. I think that we've got to stop thinking that the past is the future. Clearly, this last election reset perceptions about everything, Andrew. And I think that frankly, he may be on to something. He's his own guy. He's run the country, New York City. He is a proper philanthropist. It's about giving fishing poles out to people, not just giving people fish. He tells you what he really thinks, which rubs some people wrong the way, but at least you know what he thinks. That authenticity has a currency. And at the very least, he's going to raise the frequency in this election. He's going to drive the far left and the far right into the table of discussion.
Okay, so this is not the conventional wisdom right now in terms of, we were talking about predicted and betting lines. What does the polling world that you live in say about all of this?
Yeah, so we just did a large survey of thousands of respondents, and the results are not too dramatic other than Sanders, Warren, and Biden are tracking right in line with the president. The president's got a pretty hardened 40% base. Republicans are lined up behind the president still in the low 90s. And all 3 of those leading Democratic candidates are either right at or a couple points above the president. Bloomberg is right at or right below the president. He's only been in the race for a week.
But is that even a fair way to look at it? Because what you really have to do is go state by state.
You have to go state by state. And Bloomberg is about to launch an unprecedented campaign in 25 states with $1 billion to spend. I think the word billionaire is not the appropriate term for Michael Bloomberg. Here's somebody who has given away $8 billion to financial and educational institutions, charitable institutions. So the billionaire is just, it's like
he doesn't have to win
Joe a millionaire. I mean,
he doesn't have to win. He doesn't have to win the national. He needs to win the Democratic nomination.
Win the Democratic,
and that'd be harder than winning the national election.
Well, we're going to find out in 3 months how effective he can be. He's about to go on this.
But that's a fundamental question.
You know what? You've seen the core of the Democratic Party. I mean, you have eyes. You don't have to do a survey to see exactly where the Democratic Party is.
This might be the new get it done party, Joe. I mean, people they've seen the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. I think what people really want today is a get it done party. In some ways, and I mean no disrespect here, Mr. Trump is a Donald-crat, not a Republican or a Democrat. He's a Donald-crat. He's his own thing, for better or for worse. And I think that jobs, economic prosperity, some sense of the future, people are fearful, man. And I think that if you have somebody who can then appeal to, half of America who's living from paycheck to paycheck, my clients, and say, but maybe, just maybe, I can be him or her, and it's a prosperity agenda, not a pitchforks agenda. Right now we got pitchforks or prosperity, which I think is a false choice. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you saw the numbers Friday.
I saw numbers on my success. They said I wouldn't make it. I don't.
No, I'm talking about the jobs numbers on Friday.
The jobs numbers.
You got to run against the economy. We'll see. It's a long way off, but
I was going to ask you actually about
we're actually in agreement on this one.
The African American community today thinks about President Trump vis-a-vis the jobs numbers and the low unemployment rate and all the things that he would argue he has done for the African American community weighed against what I imagine are comments and thoughts on the other end, and how you think that plays.
I think that the perception is that successive administrations fixed some challenges, and he's riding a wave. He did some things to smooth it out. I don't think anybody in the African American community, with all due respect, gives him credit for whatever job they have. In fact, if you go into the south side of Chicago, 40% unemployment amongst young people. South side of Detroit, 25% unemployment of young people. In Atlanta, it's like a third world country.
You saw Robert Johnson's comments.
Yeah.
You saw Robert Johnson's comments.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he was unequivocal that it's been good for African Americans, the economy.
I think the economy is good. That's not the question.
But he based it on Donald Trump's policies as well. He said he's been doing a good job.
I don't think we radically disagreed on the details, what you just said. But he asked me a very different question. Is the African American community giving the president credit for their job? And the answer is absolutely not.
Okay, I would say he's.
Go talk to my clients. It's real easy. Okay. I got 4 million clients. Just come to a Hope Inside location.
Who wakes up and thanks the president for their job anyway? I mean,
right.
Let me ask you then a separate question. This goes to Mayor Bloomberg.
They think they're on hustle for their job.
This goes to Mayor Bloomberg, who I know you appear to be supportive of.
I'm supportive of common sense.
Okay, but my secondary question is, and this also goes to the African American experience in New York. One of the great critiques of Mayor Bloomberg's experience in the city was stop and frisk, and when and how he ultimately apologized for it. But obviously that happened 3 or 4 weeks ago, when arguably, depending on who
just say it when he had to say it. He finally did it. He didn't before then. You don't have to. You're dancing around. You love this guy.
I love you so much.
I know.
But just
so Joe, let's go back to your comment. The president gets credit for the good stuff because he's the president. And I'm giving him credit for some policies that actually have helped the economy.
Right.
So let me make that very clear. That's not the question, though, that was asked of me. The question that asked me was, how does the African American community perceive the president? And that is
would you acknowledge that numbers have been?
We are an emotional
They're better
people.
than they were 2-3 years ago in the African American.
They would argue that they were trending that way. People I know would argue they were trending that way mostly anyway. And they don't give this president credit for their
he's
success.
definitely selling it that he's
selling everything.
Right. But he's rising, and I think there's at least something to the notion that he ran on, where he said, you know what you've gotten to this point, give me a shot. And I think some people have decided, maybe he's.
I think that the black community doesn't believe he's giving them a shot. He's taking a shot. Most times, it's a perception that he's slapping them, not helping them, irrespective of the economic numbers. And I'm going to say again, Joe, if you look at the underserved communities I serve, it's like third world countries. I mean, he knows what I'm talking about. He does the data. We have 2 worlds in America. We have the world you and I live in, and the world everybody else lives in, which is struggling from paycheck to paycheck.
Well, that didn't start in 2016.
We're not disagreeing. I'm answering the question.
Right.